What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. I'm Howard Bender. With me is Adam Ronis. It is time to take a look ahead for Week 8 and what's going on. We're coming off of a moderately depressing game from last night, Adam. The Calvin Ridley injury, that kind of kicks me in the huevos rancheros. And then, of course, today, after all of that's said and done, you check the weather reports and like 5 games, which we're really looking at. I had a number of these players in the watch list for DFS purposes. Boom. Now we're looking at high winds, rain, just cold, messy, gross, disgusting. How you handling that?
First, we did get an update on Calvin Ridley. He had an MRI on his foot. He's considered day-to-day. Ian Rappaport reported, according to a source, so he has a chance to come back, as Raheem Morris said yesterday. So at least some potential good news there. As far as the weather, I mean, we're still 48 hours away from these games, and weather can change. We see it all the time. They also get the weather forecast wrong. So I think it's something, obviously, to take note of, but I don't think it's something that you can make a decision on now. And also, this is a tough week as is. We got a lot of teams on bye, a lot of injuries. Aaron Jones has already been ruled out. So
is Joe Mixon.
Yeah, but you can't just cross out every player in these games, man. Then you're gonna have no one to play. DFS obviously a little bit different because you have alternatives. But yeah, I think it's just something that you're gonna have to monitor up into game time. I haven't really seen the totals on these games really move much yet. Cleveland's still over 50, Cincinnati's still over 50. No one was really playing New England Buffalo anyway. Maybe Josh Allen, and obviously with his erraticness with accuracy and wind, you maybe back off if you were considering him. So it's just something that you have to keep note of, and it's going to be something that's really determined Sunday morning because we've seen this so many times. Whether it's going to be so bad, and then we get there, and then it moves a certain way, and maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's 20-mile-per-hour winds, but not throughout the game. So it does make things complicated. I already thought this was a very difficult week, and it's just going to get a little bit more challenging. But, we're here to help.
It really is a difficult week. Kind of going through it all. John and Pemba and I did the DFS podcast. We recorded it last night, and it's out and available there. But if you just kind of going through the slate, and we're just like, ew, ugh, gross, no. Did we only agree on 3 quarterbacks that we wanted? That's the process that we kind of went through it here. Arizona, Washington, Jacksonville, Houston, they're on the bye. And then if you just want to talk DFS main slate, still also Dallas, Philly off that slate, Tampa, New York off that slate, and you lost a ton of players with Carolina, Atlanta. So for DFS purposes, it does get a little nasty here. But let's kind of go through some of these games that do have that condition. Number 1, Minnesota against Green Bay. Now they're talking about super cold, super windy. I still look at this as to Minnesota's advantage, just running heavily with Dalvin Cook. The Packers can do the same with Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon. I got yelled at by somebody for not saying Jamal Williams. I was like, well, you got to go listen to the Annie Up podcast. Adam said I'm not allowed to call him that anymore because he's producing. James Babyface Grande came up with Jamaverage Williams, and that's probably a little bit closer there. But, when you look at this game, do you back off of Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson?
I don't think you back off of Devontae Adams. I mean, he gets a lot of short passes anyway. So if that's going to decrease his ownership, if you were planning on play him, that's good for you then. So I still think Aaron Rodgers and Adams are fine. Thielen and Jefferson, maybe you're a little bit more worried because Kirk Cousins, we've seen him perform poorly at times, and the wind won't help him. But I'm not really worried about Rodgers and Adams.
Okay, beautiful. Tennessee, Cincinnati. That's another one that's supposed to have some weather issues, heavy winds, possible rain. Again, Tennessee's game script is all about Derrick Henry. It's November now, which means that Henry's going to rush for 372 yards and 17 touchdowns this weekend. But what does this do now to Cincinnati? You lose Joe Mixon. Gio's not really a take it between the tackles kind of guy, But I mean, this offense is so heavily skewed towards the pass that it does kind of. I mean, I think it bodes a certain amount of concern for Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and even your and John's boy AJ Green.
Look, I'm still playing those guys in season long. Again, DFS, you have the choice. If you're not feeling it, you can go in a different direction. They're still going to pass a lot. They are going to be without 3 offensive linemen, but Burrow's been getting sacked every week, and Tennessee is not really good at pressuring the quarterback. So I'm still going to play those guys. Again, right now it looks like, slightly over 15 miles per hour winds. It's really 20 is where you really get concerned.
Right.
So it might not turn out to be that bad. So right now, I'm really not changing anything in this game.
Okay. Cleveland and the Raiders. In Cleveland, you want to talk 20-mile-an-hour winds? They're saying 20 to 25. Baker has his difficulties as is, and so there's definite concern there. Kind of figure they're going to do a heavy run schema anyway with Kareem Hunt. He had 18 carries last week, and then for the Raiders, we look at Derek Carr as being a great in a great situation for DFS. If you're streaming quarterbacks, like I am in 2 different leagues, I actually picked up Derek Carr for this matchup. And now the question is do I stick with it or do I have to back off?
Yeah, I have the same situation. I am streaming Carr in 2 leagues, and I am concerned for him because he's been taking a lot of shots deep. And if the wins are that substantial, then that's going to hurt their passing game a bit. So, the question is, okay, if you already picked up Carr and you're streaming him, like, what are your alternatives? Are you going to go to Kirk Cousins in another terrible situation? No. So that's the problem. Like, I don't know what's available.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
You could, if he's available. I mean, again, I think he was a popular streamer. If he's out there, sure, you can pivot to him. I mean, again, it comes down to tiebreakers. If the weather's going to be a factor and Garoppolo's in a game where we're not worried about the weather, and it does have a high total, and Seattle's been real susceptible against the pass, then sure, you can go in that direction. But if he's not available, like, what else are you looking at? There probably aren't great options out there.
No, there aren't. And in another league, I ended up with Bridgewater last night.
And everyone loved Bridgewater this week. Great streamer, and he was not good. I mean, part of it was Carolina ran only 52 plays last night. They got dominated in time of possession, and the offensive line gave up a lot of pressure. He did miss a few plays. He got banged up, a brutal hit that caused an ejection, and he was tripped on the same play. But, that's the thing. And you can't really fault yourself for playing those guys last night. We saw these teams match up a few weeks ago, and Bridgewater put up numbers. It was short week, divisional game, a lot of factors that come into play, but you can't sit there and go, I made a terrible decision streaming Bridgewater. The matchup called for it, and, Atlanta's been susceptible, and unfortunately it didn't work out.
Well, you almost got a late night text from me last night as it was all going on, because in the GST league at the last minute, guess who activated Curtis Samuel?
You? Yeah, I went against him, man. Are you freaking kidding me? Really? Like, every week I go against a high scorer, and this dude plays Curtis Samuel, and now I have Aaron Jones, who's out, Allen Robinson, who's probably out, so now I got to put in a bunch of garbage because I got Gibson on bye, someone, and a couple other guys on bye. I can't even remember, and it's just like, really, man?
You should have listened to the Fantasy Alarm Show yesterday with me and Jen Piacenti. She was all in on Curtis Samuel, threw $5 on him to score the first TD at plus 2,200.
Come on, Jen, up the ante, $5.
She was just kind of, throwing it around. She's like, it's $5 here, it's $5 for the waiver wire thing, but either way, she put a little money on it, and everyone went bonkers. Like, when he scored that first TD, my Twitter timeline was like, with all these, like, I hope Jen played it. So that was entertaining. But yeah, 21 points from out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it was so good.
They've been using him here and there. He had a rushing touchdown last week from 5 yards out, and he's a good player. I've always liked him, but this year I'm like, well, there's not enough to go around there in this offense, and especially DJ Moore didn't get his first catch till 3 minutes left, and it's like, these teams, the Bears did it on Monday. It's like, oh, we're down 21. Let's throw it deep downfield to Robinson. What do you know? 42-yard catch. Yesterday, Carolina, oh, game's on the line. You know what? Let's give DJ more shot downfield. And he makes the play. It's like, are you guys stupid? Why does it take this long? Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers.
I don't really understand that methodology either. Like, I really don't understand it.
They don't throw to Mike Davis. Mike Davis has been, you sense that your offensive line is not performing well. Throw a screen to Mike Davis. Every time he got the ball last night, he ran pretty well, and he has one reception.
Yeah, weird game plan. Weird game plan for Carolina. I mean, kind of you look at the situation for Atlanta, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kind of a situation. You took care of them handily before. Granted, they've got Julio Jones now, but that affects your defense. You don't screw around with your offensive game plan when it's been hitting. Like, I mean, really hitting. Anderson and Moore have just been absolutely fantastic these last few weeks. And listen, I'm not going to complain about Curtis Samuel, but again, to see DJ Moore get shut down, shut out like that, not even by coverage. It's not even by coverage. It's literally by choice, strictly choice. And I just didn't get that. All right, let's go through a couple more games here, talk about what we've got coming up. I'll just get this out of the way. This is like the Band-Aid. I just need to peel it off right now. Kansas City against the Jets. It's a 19.5-point spread. I could easily see this being a 3-score, differential at the minimum. I'm pegging this as like a 31 to 30 to 0 or 34 to 0. Granted, I'm obviously hedging on the Jets and just knowing how much they suck. But no Brashad Perriman, no Jamison Crowder. LaMichael Pirine is like their best asset. Well, Mims maybe, but when you look at this one here, how are you handling your Chiefs? Because I got a lot of people. I had somebody who turned around and asked me if they should go Derek Carr over Pat Mahomes.
Nah, you play Mahomes, man. Look, I know he's been disappointing from a fantasy perspective the last couple of weeks, but if they're going to jump out to a big lead, it could be the defense getting a touchdown. It could be special teams as we saw last week, but you're playing Mahomes, and he might sit the fourth quarter, but you never know what could happen. Maybe it stays close, or maybe he lights it up and puts up 5 touchdowns. We haven't seen that game. Maybe this is a Mahomes game, and he just goes crazy, and he throws 5 touchdowns through 3 quarters. You don't bench this guy.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. I won't ever recommend that. I don't care if he's playing in a blizzard. You drafted him in the 2nd round, 3rd round maybe. Like, have your confidence in him. There's no way I'm streaming somebody. Like, how many times have we seen people just get bitten by that one? It's a great matchup. I'm going to stream this guy in. I'm going to sit, this guy here who just threw 5 touchdowns. All right. Steelers Ravens. This one's actually fixing to be a great game. A little teaser here for the Fantasy Alarm Show. When Adam and I make our picks, I have a pick that I'm, favoring here, and it's this game. Steelers are getting 4 points. Now, this is kind of interesting because they, divisional game, they play each other tight. We're not being told there's any kind of weather concerns for this one here. You got the Steelers with a strong front 7. They got weakness in the secondary, but it's Lamar Jackson. So the front 7 is what's more important there than really worrying about your secondary. And then you got Baltimore, whose defense just immediately, they've been making improvements steadily here on the trade front to help stuff the run a little bit more. Their secondary is tight. Where are you at with these games here, especially with a guy like, let's just take, for example, Deontay Johnson, who we love, who scored 2 touchdowns for us before he left hurt. Now he's going up against a much tougher secondary.
Yeah, it's tough to really feel great about any of the Steelers receivers this week because, all 3 could do something kind of hurting each other. Steelers have been excellent against the run. Mark Ingram didn't practice today. I'm assuming he doesn't play. It's going to be a split between Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. I prefer Dobbins. He's the more explosive player. And what you want against the Steelers is a running back that can break a big play because they have really been tough against the run this year. But we saw Miles Sanders have a 74-yard run against them. Right. Gus Edwards unlikely to do it. J.K. Dobbins can. So I would lean Dobbins there. I think Hollywood Brown's going to have a good game. That Steelers is susceptible against the pass on the outside, and we've seen Brown continuously get open. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. So I think Hollywood Brown's going to have a good game here.
Yeah, Joe Hayden, not really the physical cornerback that he actually used to be, and that's really, I think, what hinders Hollywood the most is when a cornerback gets physical with him, press man coverage on the line, and kind of jacks him up. But all right, so you're unsure about the Steelers receivers, uh, Big Ben, James Conner, not your favorite plays this week.
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Connor, you're talking DFS or season?
Both mix and match, whatever
I mean,
you
you're
gotta do.
playing Connor in season long. He's a borderline RB1 because he gets volume every week. DFS, not as appealing because it's just not the best matchup.
Okay. We have to look at it from both perspectives here. And, while you and I know that James Conner is a borderline RB1 and you got to play him, I sit there and I get all these questions all the time. Do I sit Conner against the Ravens' tough defense and go with Jermichael Hasty?
Yeah, no. I mean, and Tevin Coleman practiced today, man. That Niners backfield is a headache. I mean, look, there are going to be people that have to play something in that backfield because it's just one of those weeks with buys and injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But if Coleman is active, and then we are Jerick McKinnon is dealing with heavy legs, man, and he's barely played the last couple weeks. So forget about McKinnon at this point. It's probably going to be Coleman and Hasty. They'll mix in McKinnon probably for passing now, so he's not going to play much. You can't play him.
Did you hear that nonsense? Did you hear that nonsense, by the way? I mean, you've heard my beat writer rants for the NFL. Did you hear that nonsense about who was it? I think Jennifer Chan from NBC Sports Bay Area said that Shanahan and the PR department for the 49ers got on all the beat writers to not write about Jermichael Hasty because they want to keep him more of a secret.
Right, because I think they gave him the option to become a free agent or stick with the practice squad. He's decided to stick.
Mm-hmm. Right, but I mean, beat writers not writing about a player because the coach is like, no, I want to keep it a secret. Like, I'm sorry, you were a beat writer, Adam. You know journalism. Like, what is that? That's garbage.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
Look at you toeing the line. You're toeing the line here. Come on. Shout it out with me.
Well, I said you're not supposed to do that.
I know. You're just very matter of fact. Well, I missed the Adam Ronis rants. Is Fensty the only one who can bring them out of you? Is that what it is?
You'll get rants, but I don't. There's nothing really to rant about on that one.
Sure. All right, I'm beating the dead horse then. Let's talk Miami. The game plan has been this all along. We've been told Tua Tagovailoa. I'm working on my pronunciation there. So Tua.
It's calling him Tua. I'm not wasting my time.
All right. Well, so Tua. Well, here's the question. Like, I have zero idea of what to expect from this Miami offense right now. Like, zero idea, to the point where I'll start Myles Gaskin if I have him on a roster, and because of the running back situation. But I can't be. I don't know if I can feel comfortable with a Devontae Parker, or Preston Williams, or even how about Mike Gesicki, who's been kind of phased out of this offense for a while.
Yeah, I would only start Gaskin and Devontae Parker if needed. I think I have Parker ranked as a wide receiver 3 this week. But yeah, we don't know what to expect. We didn't see Tua at all in the preseason. Wow, we saw him throw one pass towards the sideline. Wow, well, we can't gather anything from that. So. The Rams have been pretty good defensively, but I'll have a pick on this game during the Fantasy Alarm Show.
Ooh, very exciting. Does your pick involve figuring out which backfield member you want for the Rams? Like, is it Darrell Henderson, or are we all going to just push all in on Henderson and Brown this week to see Cam Akers finally get the touches?
I mean, look, we haven't seen Akers involved, so you could just keep stashing him on your bench if you have the room. Because I've said this, what happens is people are like, all right, time to drop him. You all know what's going to happen. You're going to drop him, and one of those backs are going to go down, and Akers steps into big role. You're like, oh, I should have held on another week. So I have Akers in several leagues. They're deeper formats, so I'm still holding. If you only have 5-6 bench spots, I understand you might have to cut him at this point because he's not helping you this week. So it's Henderson right now. I know Brown had a goal line carry and scored a touchdown last week, but Henderson has 8 goal line carries. So it's not like Brown is the goal line back. and Henderson still had more touches. So he's the back that you prefer out of the Rams backfield.
All right, Bills Patriots. This one's supposed to be cold, wet, and sloppy as well. I mean, listen, I have a hard time dealing with Singletary and Zach Moss, but I mean, if I had to show a preference to one or the other, I think I'm leaning Zach Moss in this one here. And then the question is do the Patriots even have an offensive weapon they can rely on?
No, they don't. I mean, if you're really desperate, Jacoby Myers looks like, he's going to be the guy with Edelman out. Looks like Harry won't play. Gilmore could be out, so that's good for Diggs. But, yeah, I mean, on the New England side, I don't really see how you play anyone right now with the way this offense has looked the last few weeks. And on the Buffalo side, I mean, Diggs, Beasley has given you a high floor. He has at least 9 points in PPR formats every single week. It looks like John Brown's going to be back, and Josh Allen's splits with John Brown are way better. For some reason, I mean, it probably the matchup has something to do with it, but he just hasn't been as good without John Brown. But the weather in this game could really hurt Josh Allen, but he does run, so he always gives you that high floor. So I don't have Josh Allen ranked as high as usual. He's not a top 5 quarterback for me this week.
Okay. Colts Lions. Teams coming off of the bye have been looking really, really good. So Colts coming off their bye. I don't know if Pittman's going to be activated for them this week. Is he?
They said that he's looking good, but they won't have a decision until Sunday.
Okay, so we'll have to kind of wait and see there. I've got some value in the watch list with a guy like Marcus Johnson. Jonathan Taylor probably going to be seeing some strong volume here, or you hope to see some strong volume given Detroit's run defense. And then on the other side, Swift, Galladay, I think par for the course here for the Lions.
Yeah, I don't like Stafford this week. I mean, he had a great matchup last week, and it took him to the last play of the game to throw a touchdown because they insist on feeding the slow Adrian Peterson. They got to stop it, but, they're 3-3, and they'll probably stick with it. But, yeah, it's Swift, Galladay, and Hockenson, not for DFS. Season long, you can play Hockenson. The Colts have been good against tight ends, but go look at the tight ends they faced. That's especially at the tight end position. We always talk about fantasy points against, and it's fine to look at it, but you have to look at it in detail and look, okay, who did they face? Because I think the Colts have allowed the fewest points per game against tight ends, but you go look who they faced, and it's like Tyler Eifert and all these guys. It's like, yeah, of course they're not giving up points to the tight end. These teams aren't throwing to them. So Hockenson just continues to get goal line looks, so I'll play him in season-long leagues. DFS, though, no, not based on the price and some other alternatives at the position this week.
All right, beautiful. Looking down, Chargers going up against the Broncos. This is kind of a funny one. I've got Craig Mish on the Wager Alarm live stream. He's leaning Broncos here. He's like, I know exactly how this game's gonna go. He's like, it's gonna be like, it's gonna be like 13-3 at the end of the half, and it's gonna be a garbage game for you, and blah blah blah, and you're gonna end up with some backdoor cover here from the Broncos and whatever. Chargers, really struggled against to beat Jacksonville, but I look at this, and I'm like, Denver, not a very imaginative offense. I'm really surprised that Pat Shurmur really hasn't done more with this team. I don't know. Maybe it's the health, issue of losing Cortland Sutton. Noah Fant has been in and out, but the question is how do you see this game going? Because the Chargers were incredibly disappointing against the Jags last week.
Yeah, I could see what Craig is saying because we've been through this with the Chargers so many times. Whenever we feel like, all right, here we go, they're going to make a run, they're going to do something, and they just disappoint. It's a divisional game. It's on the road. It's tough to play in Denver. So we do have the Melvin Gordon revenge game if you buy into that.
Ooh. I love the fact that you are in tune with all of the revenge game narratives.
It's easy to be aware of them. We got Carlos Hyde if he suits up, but not looking likely there.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's tough. The total is pretty low. Justin Herbert, I think everyone's in on him, and in season long, you're playing him, but you are worried that at some point Denver's defense has actually been pretty good. So you're kind of worried, but I'm sticking with him and playing him still. But we all know Herbert's going to have one of these games soon that's just a disappointment. He cannot continue to play at this level.
That's disappointing. Yeah, he's averaging like 308 passing yards per game, 7 touchdowns in his last two, 10 touchdowns in his last three. He hasn't thrown a pick in 2 games. Yeah, it's tough. You got a really strong pass rush there for Denver. Man, I mean, they just look so bad and stagnant on offense that I mean, it's really going to come down to if Justin Herbert puts up that stinker of a game. I'm glad I held on to all my shares of Brandon McManus, though.
Yeah, but remember, we see this happens every week in the NFL. A team looks awful, and then the next week they come out and play well. So, and it's the Chargers, man. It's not like we're talking one of the top teams in the NFL. We're talking about a 2-4 Chargers team. So, I don't feel strongly either way, but I would not be surprised at all if Denver covered this and even won.
That is incredibly depressing. Incredibly depressing, but yet nevertheless, it's what we go with. Saints Bears. This is supposed to be high winds, 20 to 25 miles an hour, is at least what they're saying. Obviously, in Chicago, kind of like Chicago looks terrible.
They are
terrible on Monday night, right? You told me to watch the game. I ended up like watching a replay of the game, and it was gross, like gross. And I mean, Allen Robinson is in concussion protocol. He doesn't look, like he's able to come back. On paper, this looked like a decent game for the Bears, but after seeing what I saw, I was like, oh, God, you can't even invest in these guys. You can't run on them. So Montgomery becomes another weak play. You got to use him in, seasonal because the position just sucks. But I don't know. Is Michael Thomas coming back? If not, what are we looking at? A lot of questions.
We're waiting on Michael Thomas. I mean, he returned to practice yesterday. It doesn't mean he's going to play. So waiting to hear the practice reports from the Saints today. Obviously, Kamara, great spot, high floor. Doesn't matter. You're playing him. I guess you could look at Cook for season long. I don't want to play him in DFS, but yeah, I mean, it's a low total. The weather, Drew Brees on the road, doesn't have that big arm strength to begin with. The Bears defense is good. I know they gave a point. I think they got worn down the other night because the Bears offense couldn't stay on the field. You could see it at the end of the game. They were fatigued. I still expect the Saints to win this game. Kind of surprised the line's a little low. I just don't think the Bears are that good offensively. And Allen Robinson could be out. He did not practice today. I did see Nagy said if he passes the concussion protocol by Sunday, he will play. But if you have Robinson, you have to have a contingency plan because that game's 4:25 p.m. Eastern, and I got him in a lot of leagues. So I'll have to come up with a backup plan. And I know people, well, Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller. Look, Mooney put a great move on Jalen Ramsey, was wide open, and Nick Foles still couldn't get him the ball. And I understand he was under pressure, but, so I don't even know if I want to go the Mooney. Actually, I made a move in a league where I had picked up Mooney for like $1, and I dropped him for Tyler Johnson. I prefer Tyler Johnson in the slot against the Giants this week with no Chris Godwin.
Okay. Yeah. Should be interesting.
I don't think Nick Foles can get it to Mooney, man.
No, I don't think he can either. I was talking to Jen Piacenti about that, and she was talking about Mooney being, like a deep cut to look at. I mean, if you're absolutely desperate, sure.
You can. But I mean, the league I was talking about was 14 teams, and right. I have Robinson, so. But it was just like, what? Am I going to go with Mooney with Nick Foles or Tyler Johnson with Tom Brady? And we've already seen Johnson get a touchdown last week. Did he score another one, or was that called back a few weeks ago?
It was called back.
Okay, yeah. But he's good. I mean, I liked him coming out. I didn't like the landing spot. I'm like, oh, man, Tampa drafted him with Godwin and Evans and obviously Antonio Brown coming in. But Tyler Johnson could do something this week, so I decided to go with him.
Interesting. I went with Curtis Samuel.
Well, good for you. It just sucks when you play someone like against, you know what I mean? And he was like people on bias her. I guess I'll play Curtis Samuel. It's great when you do it. When you're against it, it sucks.
Dude, Sunday fantasy football Twitter was blowing up. People talking about the fact that they faced teams that had both Devontae Adams and Tyler Lockett.
I went. I don't know. I know I went against Lockett for sure. Yep. I don't think I did I think I went against Lockett and Hopkins, but Hopkins didn't have a monster game.
No, I went against Lockett in a couple of leagues. That was not fun. Not fun at all. All right. Niners Seahawks. We talked about the Niners side of that. Jimmy Grape's possibility. I like Brandon Ayuk in this situation.
Kendrick Bourne, deep
Kendrick,
sleeper.
yeah, Kendrick Bourne's nice little low end. Seattle side here. Let's talk about that backfield. That's I mean, because Metcalf, Lockett. Yes, please. Give me more of Metcalf and Lockett. But talk to me about this backfield because now everybody's banged up.
Yeah, it's starting to look like DJ Dallas is going to be the guy here. Carlos Hyde dealing with this hamstring injury. Homer's banged up. They keep saying Carson's a game time decision. I don't see how he plays. The guy's tough as hell. We've seen him play through injuries, but I can't see him playing. So DJ Dallas should have been picked up in your season long leagues. I did get him in a couple leagues, and I'm probably going to put him in there if he's the starter.
Yeah, that's definitely a guy to look at. All right, I can dig that. DJ Dallas. Whoosh. Speaking of Dallas, do you want to touch on this at all? Hey, Danucci.
Well, so we do our survivor bet on Alarm After Hours 4 weeks in a row. The last 4 weeks, I have taken the underdog on Sunday night. It is cashed every time. I did not go back to this game this week. Fancy was like, come on. I'm like, nah, I can't do it. I do think the Cowboys are going to play better. I mean, of course, players are saying, like, yeah, Danucci looks good. Of course. I mean, they got to boost up his confidence. But it looks like Zach Martin's going to be back. But it's still a tough spot. Philly's going to blitz like crazy. They got a good front seven. So for Dallas, you're playing Zeke as a, still an RB1 because of the volume. You got to figure they're going to get back to him and try and run a lot early. Cooper, maybe Lamb. That's about it. And Philly, Boston Scott. They haven't officially. Miles Sanders not going to play though. So Scott, Travis Fulgham, great play. Fire him up. Wentz is a really good player. I got Wentz as a top 5 quarterback this week. And he gets Jalen Reagor back too. So another weapon into the fold. Richard Rodgers, great tight end play this week as well. So yeah, Philly, you're loving this side. And Dallas, look, it's hard to play these guys right now. Zeke for sure. Cooper, Lamb's borderline.
Lamb is borderline, as is Gallup as well.
Yeah, I don't think you could play Gallup. I mean, yeah, it's tough because it's a lot of deep routes for him, and you need time for those to develop, and they just don't have the time with the line.
All right, well, there you go. Let's move to Monday Night Football because actually this is a good spot here. Bucks Giants. You were saying Jason Pierre-Paul in his revenge game tweet, so we're all in on that one.
Someone on Twitter's like, I don't see how it's a revenge game. I'm like, dude, look at his comments, bro. Do you ever hear players talk like that? They never do.
Never.
I'm going to come for your neck. I'm coming after you. They know what's coming. Players don't speak like that. So if you want to, don't call it a revenge game, fine. But he's clearly fired up for this. Yeah. So I take note of that because usually players like, yeah, it's no big deal. I played for them, had a good time there, blah, blah, blah. He is saying I'm coming for them. So that's eye-opening. But on the Bucs side, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette both kind of RB2s. Fournette's evolved more in the passing game. If Tampa Bay does jump out to a big lead, kind of leans more to Ronald Jones. And he's going to be like the primary ball caliber. But they mixed in Fournette last week. Evans, I don't love. I don't think he's 100%. He's probably going to see a lot of Bradbury, who's been very good. I got him ranked as a wide receiver too. But, the expectations, just because Godwin's out, don't think he's going to go crazy in this game. Like Scotty Miller, as a wide receiver 3. And I like Tyler Johnson if you're desperate. And Gronk, it's amazing. Gronk went from like, we got to cut him. It doesn't look good. And I think the mistake that people made is that we forgot this dude sat out a whole year and, no preseason games. He needed some time to get that body back in a football shape. And it looks like he's there now. So Gronk's basically a top 7 tight end the rest of the way.
Let me ask you about the Ronald Jones Leonard Fournette split just for a second, because we were just talking about DJ Dallas being a guy who would interest you if both Carson and Hyde are out. Would you lean Dallas over either one of these Tampa backs? But you've got a pretty soft matchup here against the Giants for them. So it's like Could it be all DJ Dallas, or at least, most of the passing work there against the Niners, or let's just, Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette? Where do you rank that?
Probably the Bucks backs. I mean, it's close because I do think you'll probably see a lot more Russell Wilson passing. But he's probably going to get 15 touches in an offense that's really productive. But so is the Bucks offense. I mean, we've seen them put up big points. We saw both be successful last week. Ronald Jones got a touchdown, Fournette involved in the passing game. So I think it's close. I might put DJ slightly above, but I think they're all in the RB2 range. I think you have to rank Ronald Jones a little bit higher over Fournette because of the touchdown potential.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, there you go, guys. That's week 8, kind of in a nutshell there from me and Adam. If you guys are looking for more information, tune into SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You've got Adam and I on from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Got a great show planned for you, both seasonal and DFS help on the way. Also got a little fun in store. Adam, you've never done the Wheel of Randomness, have you?
I think I did it once.
Oh, did you?
I think so, yeah.
Well, gear up, baby, because Shannon Blunt is our producer today, and it's all about Shannon and the Wheel of Randomness. So definitely stay tuned there. And also, guys, listen, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, follow us everywhere. At Fantasy Alarm on Twitter, fantasyalarm.com on Facebook. Go to Fantasy Alarm, our YouTube page over there. Like, subscribe. You've got Adam and I on the Ante Up podcast, which is part of the Sawdust Podcast Network. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. Last night, John and I went through. We actually made our picks, against the spread, and that airs up every Friday. You're able to catch that. So, did I leave anything out, Adam?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, then let's get the hell out of here. Get ready for a radio show. So big thanks to John and Pemba for producing. And I'm Howard Benner for Adam Ronis. This has been Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. We'll catch you next time.